What is up? What is good? The Wolf is here with the 5 most memorable games of the last decade. It's from 2010 till right now. The last couple years have seen probably some of the most amounts of game releases that we've had in the last 10 years. There was literally like 3 major titles coming out every month of the last year, which was crazy. Just insane trying to keep up with it and everything as a streamer and video maker or anything like that, doing all the Let's Talks and everything. It has been absolutely a fun ride, a thrill ride, and a very long, hard ride because, wow, so much to do, so much to talk about, so much to make. So, before I get into the definitive, top 5 list of the last decade, I do need to do some honorable mentions because there was, like I said, there were so many games that came out. Maybe they weren't quite sentimental value games, but they were absolutely just, some of the best of the best. So to start off, Rainbow Six Siege. That one blew up in the last couple of years, last few years. It was steadily growing bigger and bigger, but there was a lot of people that were still kind of on the Call of Duty train or the CSGO train or whatever. So the fan base for Rainbow Six Siege, I feel now, is the biggest it's ever been, which has also mean that there's been a lot more like DDoSes and really just so the quality of life changes have happened. But there has been a lot of really rough nights of friendly fire kills and this and that stuff, which I get why it's there to add an extra amount of realism to it and everything. But I think that really holds it back from being top 5. The server issues are not the game's fault. That's people just being shitheads, hacking everything. So the next one on the list is Need for Speed 2015, when it pretty much got rebooted. There was live action cutscenes and this and that. It reminded me a lot of the 2005 Most Wanted game, with the live action cutscenes like Carbon and Undercover and everything, which I absolutely love. The live action cutscenes, I think they take a lot longer to make because it is, it's a bigger budget because there's live actors and everything in there. But I really love those. So that was a game that was one of the biggest things I ever did on YouTube, was the playthrough of that from EA Access and everything, which is EA Access there's been a lot of hate around EA and everything, and especially anything that has the EA logo on it, especially over the last 2010 to now. People are just like, it's EA, I want to play that. Me, I'm like, you know what? I don't care about the logo. If it's a cool experience, it's a cool experience. I'll take it. If it works, it's And for me, for the most part, they do work. So Need for Speed 2015 definitely on that list too. Resident Evil 2 remake. Now here's a funny one. Now I can't really put this in the top 5, in that definitive top 5 because the sentimental value was not there for me. I absolutely love it. Resident Evil is one of my favorite series now. I do love everything in that whole thing. I did not play through it when I was younger. I really wish I did because I probably would have loved it twice as much now. Just like Devil May Cry and all that stuff, I did not play them when I was younger. So the sentimental value was kind of lost, but definitely going back and playing through the whole series and doing the series run through on Twitch. And then turning around and just having 2 amazing, experiences of games coming out by Capcom. Cap Gods are back. They had a rough time. So seeing those 2 games come out, Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5 are definitely in this list of honorable mentions, highly honorable mentions. Now, earlier in 2010. There's 2 Call of Duty games that came out that I have to mention, and that is Ghosts, specifically on the Xbox One, and Advanced Warfare, which I know a lot of people will be like, ew, Advanced Warfare, the jetpacks, you could jump and you could fly in that thing. That's why I loved it, because the mobility of it. I love mobility in games, and me being able to slide, fly through the air, pop, 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 pop. I got so many videos on the YouTube channel of just me just dominating people because I can literally just scoot past them and everything. It was such a fun time. The maps were pretty good. I do know that like Dr. Disrespect worked on so a few of the maps for the game, if not like half of them or something like that. So shout out to him for making some pretty cool maps. Shout out for the team for making a pretty good jetpack game. You know, it's something that it was different than Halo, but it felt like Call of Duty, and that's something that I really liked. Yeah, I am still, you know, like Modern Warfare, other than like the maps kind of being rough. Half of the maps being rough. There are some good maps in Modern Warfare. They don't all suck. Everybody's just in this like complaining culture about everything. But anyways, moving on. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Some of my all-time favorites by Rockstar. I don't think I've played a game that I don't like by them. And Red Dead and Grand Theft definitely. Wow, yeah, just everything that Rockstar puts out, I usually give my stamp of approval on. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, and I know RDR2 was kind of controversial on just how realistic it was and all that. It's like it's a gorgeous game, but it handles, you know, kind of janky and everything. If you grew up playing Rockstar games, that's whatever. So absolutely, you know, just again, living in that game world, experiencing being a cowboy, it's like living out that fantasy that you always had when you're a kid. Taking care of horses, just learning how to ride a horse. What else? Fishing and hunting and just everything that goes into it. Notice I'm not talking about Red Dead Online. I said that it'd probably take until now for Red Dead Online to get good, and lo and behold, 2020 Red Dead Online is actually finally worth a damn, because, you know, they barely even got the game complete, the single player portion of the game complete, so it took them that long to get the multiplayer done. But definitely 1 and 2, John Marston's whole storyline, Arthur Morgan's storyline, awesome. I actually look forward to someday playing through Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC in 60 FPS and seeing all the quality of life changes and everything. Now I think it's been about a year now or something like that, maybe half a year or whatever since that came out. So once again, Devil May Cry 5, wow, just blows your mind seeing what Capcom can do, and seeing just how talented everybody is that worked on Devil May Cry 5. Absolutely one of the biggest honorable mentions of the last decade. I'm going to try and rapid fire these a little more. So let's see here. God of War PS4. Yeah, that was another one that was just a wild thrill ride. Actually had some pretty decent viewership on Twitch playing that. People were watching me play it, and just the mix of the brand new combat with the combo system kind of felt like a fighting game. Different weapons, the whole storyline of Kratos being a father, figuring out Atreus' storyline, just going on adventures through different game worlds and everything. Like, what? Oh, man, poof! You know, it was absolutely a great grand adventure. And the secret ending to it was one of those moments on my Twitch stream where I was like, that was good. I called the moment, didn't realize I was actually predicting something that was about ready to happen, and then boom, it hit, and I was like, whoa. Available on the YouTube channel in highlight form. So also, this one was originally in the top 5 list, but I took it out just because I felt that there was another game that was more deserving of it, just because there was another game that brought me into a genre overall. So Spider-Man PS4, 100% honorable mention. It's not top 5, but it's so damn close. It is like freaking 4.9. It's right there underneath the top 5 list. Spider-Man sentimental value. I've played a bunch of Spider-Man games growing up, and this was the best one. Like Spider-Man PS4, you can tell it's made by the fans of the Spider-Man universe, of the older games and everything. Insomniac, PS4, giving them a budget to do everything that they dreamed of doing. Awesome. And just swinging through New York, where it totally feels like a one-to-one creation. And you know me, I love New York. NYC is that's like it's like a secondary home. It's one of those things I've always been like I freaking love to see. The architecture of the buildings, the history of everything that's there, and it gets represented in Spider-Man PS4. I would love to see them ported over to PS5, see just what else, how much more smooth the game can run, or whatever the case may be. Hell, Spider-Man PS4, the first tech demo for the PS5 was that game, so it's also a technical wonder that it works as well as it does too. So then also, a new genre for this decade was the Souls genre, the Dark Souls inspired games, and probably the biggest one. The biggest one is in my top 5, which I'll be getting to, but I mean, technically, the one that I definitely enjoyed a lot more than most was Bloodborne. And that is in a lot of people's top 5 games of the last decade for sure. It's some of them top 3 of all time. Bloodborne is just a magical, mystical. Wow. It's like a gothic wonderland of extraordinary events, and like how can you even explain it? It's something that you have to experience. I played it again just recently. I actually have not beaten it, which I've seen people beat it, but I need to beat it myself. Still, I know it's one of those things. Souls games, I never beat them. I have never actually beaten a full-on Souls game. To this day, I've played all of them. I've not beaten one of them. They're so long, and so when you have game after game after game after game coming out, it's like it's hard to beat it. Yeah. So then, the next one on the list is Days Gone, and again, this one was so close. This was like it was fighting for that top spot right along with Spider-Man. Days Gone did what the next game that I'm about ready to mention did very well, and that's like the mixture of story, character development. It actually had a very good ending to it, a setup for even more of what they could do with it. The DLC was all right. The extra DLC after the game came out was all right. The whole way through the story keeps you kind of guessing, but at the same time you start to piece it together, but it really does mostly keep you guessing for the whole thing. Just Deacon was actually pretty cool, seeing like they brought back the guy who played Starkiller in The Force Unleashed. He came back to play Deacon, and just he did a bang up awesome job. Love everything that he's in. Anyways, but also finally having like this cross between like a Sons of Anarchy meets The Walking Dead, and put that together to where it's like you almost feel like Daryl, but at the same time. And that's another game I almost forgot to put on the list. Talking about Daryl, talking about Norman Reedus and everything. Absolutely Death Stranding, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Yeah, like Days Gone was just like, it was a perfect. That was like a 10 out of 10 for me. I loved everything that they did with it. I can't wait to see if there's a Days Gone 2 or how they're going to do that. Yeah, it's just, I can't wait to see. Oh man, there's 2 of them actually. There's 2 more to put on this list. Before I forget, Death Stranding. That one just came out not too long ago, and yeah, that was different. That was a game that no other game had done before, and it was totally just kind of out of the blue. It was very, very random. The story made sense in the end. It was great. So the biggest thing about Days Gone was just the whole fact that the game world was being built in front of your eyes as you're playing it. And if you go back now, it's a totally different game world than what it was when it first came out, when it first launched. The first launch night or launch day of it, there was nothing there. There was no roads, there was no lyres, there was no ropes, there was no towers, there was no bikes, no nothing. And now you go into there and there's highways. There's like the player base has built this game up to be more than what it launched as being, and it's not even like the modern fan base. It's literally that's the premise of the game, is to build up and to connect everything together as Stranding. It's Kojima is a damn genius. The gameplay itself it should not be fun. You are literally just a delivery boy making delivery runs and packages, but damn if that story does not get you. And some of the best writing I have ever seen in anything, in movies wise or game wise or anything. Some of the best writing. All the cast members did a bang up job. I said this in my live stream. It was awesome. So definitely Death Stranding and Jedi Fallen Order. That was the Star Wars game that I always wanted. It was like that Soul style game, and put into basically the Force Unleashed, but with the sword fighting feel. You don't just feel like a badass that you're just running through everything. You're actually having a sword fight, and that right there is something that people that grew up loving the lightsaber and loving the Force abilities and everything, we've always wanted that. Actually having a sword fight it's something that's hard to make happen. It's hard to replicate. Assassin's Creed was probably the only, before Souls games there was Assassin's Creed, and that was the closest thing that you had to it. So yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights of the last 10 years. And then The Last of Us. So that's going to be the last honorable mention is The Last of Us. And that game I got when I first got the PS4. I got the addition of the PS4 that came with it because I heard that it was actually a really cool thing. And yeah, that blew me away. There was moments in it where it was just like, you have your horror moments in it, you have your action moments, you have your very your dramatic moments, but then you also have that kind of family building moments between Ellie and Joel. I'm hoping I'm getting those names right, and I can't remember names for nothing. But yeah, just everything that they did, the setup to the puzzles to even the graphics for the time when it came out too, and the remastered version of it, just everything with it. So technically, I'm talking about the remastered version, not the original, because I know that the original, I'm pretty sure, came out 2009 or something like that. Anyways, so that's the honorable mentions. Now the actual top 5 list, which is not really top 5 list, it's just 5 games that were the best of the 10 years. The best of the best of the 10 years. The first one, the game that brought me back into fighting games, something that I had not been interested in since the Sega Genesis, since the early PS1 when I played Tekken 3 on a demo disc, since I played Shaq Fu on the Sega Genesis, since I had played Soul Calibur way back in the day. This is actually a tie. Killer Instinct started it. Mortal Kombat 9 brought me in, and MKX totally blew it up. So those 3 fighting games, it's hard. It's almost impossible to pick between all 3 of them. But those, that's what brought me back into fighting games. So Mortal Kombat, mostly it was Killer Instinct, but MK9 is what was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And that also brought me into, like, MK9 brought me into checking out stuff about MKX, which brought me into Twitch, which brought me into seeing a certain live stream that I have been a part of, either watching or in chat for the last, I think it's been almost 4 years now, something like that. And that is that's Maximilian Dude's channel. Everybody knows him in the world of fighting games and everything. He's very well known in the world of Final Fantasy VII and all that stuff. He's very well known. So, anyways, that brought me, and that was really a game changer. That moment of so Killer Instinct started it because that was one of the first games. Actually, that was the first game I ever played on the Xbox One. Ironically enough, that's where Max also started his channel from. And then there was a lot of parallels that led me into his channel. Excuse me. So Killer Instinct comes out on the Xbox One, and that was like a launch title for Xbox One. First thing I ever did on the Xbox One was KI, and it was, once you put on the assist combo assist, turn that on. The game just, if you don't know what the hell you're doing in fighting games, it becomes so much fun because you just slam on buttons and cool stuff happens, and you get Saberwolf in there, and everything. It's Jago over there just with his sword and everything. It's great. It's awesome. I've streamed it a lot. My first ever full live stream was Killer Instinct. But that one led into MK9, and I wasn't sold on fighting games with Killer Instinct. But when I played MK9 and I saw the story, I'm like, this is actually pretty cool. I remember this from back in the day. I seen the Mortal Kombat movies and everything back in the day. And it was just like this thing of like, I really like this. I should probably stick around fighting games. I'm actually kind of getting decent. This was before I could even juggle a juggle combo on any characters or anything. This is just me slamming on buttons, being like, I don't know what I'm really doing. But yeah, it's cool. It's fun. Then Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 10 comes out, and that's when I started checking out YouTube, started checking out Twitch, and then I stumbled upon Yo Video Games, and it was just like this whole world of fighting games, Evo, and there's a Soul Calibur, there's a Street Fighter, there's an Injustice, there's a Mortal Kombat, there's Power Rangers fighting game later on, and like just everything. Wow. So much came from it. Still now, it's like that's one of my top genres that I am still just plugging away at is fighting games. Absolutely love them. So the next one is the game that actually made me click with Souls style games, and a lot of people argue it's not really a Souls game. I don't really care. It's got a lock on and you do some combos. To me, that's a Souls game. Nioh. I am actually currently right now playing through. I just did a live stream a couple nights ago of a Nioh playthrough just before 2019 ended, and it gets better and better the farther you go through. You can refashioning your armors and this and that stuff, but Nioh started me on the path going into Dark Souls 1, and funny enough, I actually didn't like Dark Souls 1. I thought it was a really dumb game. I'm like, you don't even feel any progression on this. Nioh helped me get into the feeling of, okay, I'm progressing. Oh, this is what happens when you unlock the map and everything. Oh, this is what happens when you upgrade. Oh, this is what happens when you actually get a really cool weapon and you can make yourself look really cool and everything else. So Nioh helped with that, but Bloodborne is, like I said, this is like where it was a toss up between these couple of games. Bloodborne actually has my favorite aesthetic: the atmosphere, the music, the weapons, the look of the characters, everything from the enemies to your own design. I really do love Bloodborne more, but Nioh is the one that really started it. It's the one that got my foot in the door. So both of those games really are like top 5 of the last decade for me. Whew. A game that is, oh my God, and I totally forgot to put in the honorable mentions. It just clicked in my brain because as soon as I thought to myself, a game that I have played, literally one of the most played ever games, single games, not series, but single games, Grand Theft Auto 5 and GTA Online, which is technically still GTA 5. I have so many hours into that over the 360, the Xbox One, the PS4, the PC. I haven't done a full playthrough on PS4 or PC, but I have done full playthroughs on both of the first two systems. And I played so much online, and all of it is just it's ridiculous. I've had like 3 different times where I've really deep dived into the online on GTA online, and it's just, making yourself in a GTA game. That was the ultimate fantasy since GTA 3 for me. So on top of that, really should also be like, this should be a top 10 list instead of top 5. Man, how can I not put Monster Hunter up there too? Jeez, like this is quickly turning from a top 5 to a top 6. Monster Hunter also. I have over 300 hours in that. I've never put that much time into anything other than like the Mass Effect trilogy of a full series. So just like Monster Hunter World and Iceborne has been magic. And I wouldn't have liked it so much. I guess this is the reason why Monster Hunter is in an honorable mention, because I wouldn't have liked it so much if it wasn't for Neo introduced me into Dark Souls, which then Dark Souls turned into a love affair with Monster Hunter. It's funny how games can work like that. So I guess, yeah, Monster Hunter World is also in honorable mentions. It's like there's so much that has come out in the last 10 years. It's hard to keep track and remember everything. Like the Battlefield series should be somewhere in this list also. At least one of them. Although each one of them I've kind of liked each one of them kind of the same amount. I think Battlefield 3 maybe could be an honorable mention. But I actually don't remember when that came out. Maybe it'd be Battlefield 4 instead. I don't know. Hardline, sort of. That was the first time I ever live streamed. It's hard. This is a hard thing. This is very hard. So GTA 5, yeah, just everything in it. I will say, I still kind of like San Andreas and Vice City storyline a little bit more. But the dynamic of the 3 and the way you can customize the story at the end, have different endings, and just the whole Michael's family all together, being able to customize the characters themselves, and like they were all 3 of a biker gang in mind. It was like an MC look to them. It was great just playing through it. Also, the mods for GTA 5 are really, really cool on the PC and everything. So yeah, GTA 5 is just. That's one of those magic games. I think that's in a lot of people's top 5 all time is GTA 5. I will say too, it was kind of funny going to Cali, going back to Cali. After GTA 4 being in based in Liberty City, New York, going back to San Andreas after all that time. That was something. Anyways, so the next one on the list, and boy, this one. I mean, I teared up playing it the first time. It's one of these moments of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, something I never thought I'd have hands on again, and I just missed it so much. That was so much of childhood was just running through Crash Bandicoot. To the point where I wore out Crash Bandicoot 3. And just having all the memories and all the feelings flood back playing that. It was I know what people are gonna go through playing through FF7 remake when that comes through, and like maybe RE3 remake. But yeah, just going back through and just dominating those levels again, and speedrunning and streaming it, and actually showing off for the world of like, yeah, this is something I can do. This is pretty cool. So and being able to play as Coco throughout the whole thing, that was awesome. And the cut level too, like they had a couple cut levels in there, and maybe possibly we'll have a brand new Crash Bandicoot with hopefully the same type of gameplay. That's gonna be a whole other Let's Talk. And finally, I gotta get into this very quickly. Mass Effect 2. Jeez. 2010s had 2 of my all-time favorite games come out ever, which was Mass Effect 2 and 3. That is 100% like Crash Bandicoot for the longest time was my all-time favorite series, and then Mass Effect dropped, and maybe it's just because it's older playing through Mass Effect, and I was also going through school at the time, so it was, a lot of the stuff that you want to do in school, relationship wise, and like you're in the military, you're Space Force and all this and that stuff, N7, and everything. So, yeah, it's like, man, Mass Effect 2 was pretty much the pinnacle, though. Mass Effect 3 was also mind blowing, but Mass Effect 2, I think, was the walking out and seeing the Normandy being blown up, seeing Shepard being spaced, and then all of a sudden, like halfway through the game, you unlock the other second, main way. So you're a soldier, then you can actually unlock, the Mass Effect abilities and everything. But in that moment, you're figuring out that the ship that literally destroyed and killed your ass, not even kicked your ass, but killed your ass, is the ship that you're on right now that is laid dormant. It's like, whoa. Granted, the last boss, big giant baby human boss, whatever the hell they were going for, that was kind of weird. But that whole moment of like, I can either save everyone or somebody can actually die in this, and I will never see these characters again in the next game. Like, whoa, suicide mission was, wow. Okay, so that's top 5 games. Now, really quickly, top 5 series. I know this video is going long. Again, Let's Talk. My bad. So, honorable mentions, really quickly, the Dark Souls series. I love anything that's Soul style. Lock on, do combos, grab weapons, do the whole combat system and everything. Since even Assassin's Creed going Soul style, that's just something that's really cool. I find. Again, the Mortal Kombat series, Tekken series, the games that came out in the last like 10 years, in the last few years, because I haven't gotten in. I started around the MK9, years, whatever. It was late into almost MKX territory. Might as well say MKX territory is where I started. But anyways, so Mortal Kombat and Tekken have been like just two of those series that it's definitely changed a lot of what I've been doing. A lot more figuring out game mechanics, figuring out frames and like active frames and how stuff works. And really, it's just like I wouldn't be live streaming and doing YouTube if it wasn't for these fighting games bringing me into it opened up a lot. And those two series were like the main ones for that. Again, Assassin's Creed. Wow. That is, jeez. So many games, so many memories, so many hours. 100%. Assassin's Creed 1 through 3 were three of the first games I ever 100% finished. All the achievements on the Xbox. I've had a blast going through all of them. The reason why it's in the honorable mentions and not the actual official top 5 is because they've had a few games I did not like. Which was like the Pirate series, which I know everybody's like, what? To me, they didn't feel like Assassin's Creed games. They didn't feel like the main characters did not feel like assassins. They didn't feel like they were part of the Brotherhood or anything. Unity, Assassin's Creed Unity, was the first one that Arno was actually a part of the Brotherhood. Even though the Brotherhood was kind of rough in that one. It just felt like he was actually trying to be an assassin, which I really loved it. I loved the aesthetic of it. I loved the graphics for the time were freaking mind-blowing. They still are. Did it have some glitches? Yes. And then Syndicate also, that one was another just like, wow, the aesthetic of it going through London and everything. I actually had more glitches in Syndicate than I did in Unity in my playthroughs. I know a lot of people were like, what? But yeah. Another one, Gears of War. Every Gears game that has come out, I've really enjoyed, and the ones in the 2010s just as much. I've had a lot of co-op playthroughs with Golden Viper and everything, so it's been a lot of fun. I can't stand the online. I don't really like horde mode, but the single player on it is just like some of the most memorable moments that I've ever gone through. And then of course Need for Speed. As I said, 2015 Need for Speed was one of those crazy years. The latest one, Heat, has been actually pretty damn good. Payback was rough, had a decent story to it, but the overall gameplay of it was rough and everything. So again, not in the top 5 because they have had the rough ones in there. But yeah, there's Need for Speed's just one of those series I've always been around. So now for the absolute hardcore top 5 list. Oh boy, Resident Evil, and this is Assassin's Creed was almost in there, but I have to say Resident Evil actually takes over Assassin's Creed because I actually have liked every one of the games, and I know everybody's gonna be like, Resident Evil 6? What? Yes, even Resident Evil 6, I enjoyed it. I liked it, and all the side ones too. VR Resident Evil 7 was freaking just that was a game changer. I'm like, man, we need way more done with VR. I'm gonna make a Let's Talk on it, but yeah, there's so much more that can be done with VR, and I'm seeing it happening sort of for this next few years. Like there's some projects in the works and stuff that I see happening. Like there's a Star Wars VR game, the Vader Immortal, I think it's called. Yeah. So Resident Evil overall though, Resident Evil 2 remake was freaking mind blowing. Resident Evil 1, the remaster version of it, fun as all hell. I played through it 4 times in a row, unlocked some costumes and stuff. I also streamed it, so I've streamed a few Resident Evil games, but I'm gonna probably end up streaming like the whole series. I played through the whole series off stream, and it was a lot of fun because that was my like downtime when I was away from streaming. Resident Evil, just I fell in love with it. The WWE series, every single year, I am always right there from launch night to the launch night of the next one. That is like the one sports game that I freaking absolutely adore and enjoy. And yes, 2K20 has been kind of a rough one, but yeah, just every one of them, just all the matchups, all the moments in there when you're winning the championships, when you're working your way up through the roster, having these really crazy like 1-2 the kick out, going to OMGs, freaking setting up your move set where it's like, you're if you do it the right way and you customize everything, you make everything look up to date and spiffy, and then you make yourself into the game and everything. That's where James Lewis really truly like lives on past like just the beginnings of the UFC thing. So yeah, that was the WWE series. Absolutely always top 5 list. Grand Theft Auto, again, always top 5 lists. Anything that Rockstar does, Grand Theft Auto though in particular, just because of the online stuff and just everything that I was able to do with the online. Red Dead Online, hopefully in the next like year or two, I'll be putting a lot more time into that also. So we'll see. Call of Duty, of course. That's this top 5 list of the series of the decade is kind of the same one that's always been over the last, however long I've been banging away on them. I think it's been almost like 14 years now. The top of the list has just been, WWE, Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, and Mass Effect. Those games just don't change. Those are the top ones. Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, they come out. Grand Theft Auto comes out every 4 years. WWE comes out every year. Call of Duty comes out every year, and it's just like one of those things where launch night, it's like, okay, let's load it up, let's check it out. In Call of Duty, it's funny because the story mode is a lot of times what draws me in the most on it. And then the multiplayer is like, okay, let's have some fun. Let's do this. Let's dominate and everything. I will say though, Rainbow Six Siege has got my attention almost more than Call of Duty, and it's been doing a good job at diverting. But as a series overall, Call of Duty is still one of the top ones. And Mass Effect, come on, that's my favorite game series of all time right there. Everything that you could do in it, the choices, it's just. I will say the Outer Worlds, I would love to see Mass Effect kind of go in a direction of the Outer Worlds of being able to kill or help everybody, even your squad mates and everything. I do like that kind of Bethesda-ish touch on it. Did I just say that? The freedom of choice. I would love to see be brought into the next Mass Effect whenever we get that. But definitely just the story of Shepard, and even Andromeda, it was a good game. Just didn't feel like a Mass Effect. Even with that being like that, the game overall wasn't bad. It was an alright game overall. It just pissed me off some of the grindy aspects of it, and some of the character stuff and everything. I would definitely say that the trilogy, the 2 and 3, were for the most part what still makes it like the top, top of the top. But yeah, that's I think that's gonna do it though. That's top 5 games and top 5 series of the last decade. This one ran long, but that's because I had a whole decade worth of games to cover. The next Let's Talks will be shorter. I guarantee it. I will have a lot more coming soon. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see ya next time.